In this video, I want to talk about the 5 things that you can start to implement into your life to basically get ahead of 99% of people out there. And these are the 5 main things that I used to basically escape the rat race, escape my old way of living, starting my own business that is now generating over $125,000 per month. And it's growing. Like, it's a scalable business. And so let's just dive right into it. Like, the first principle is to put yourself first. So let me just tell you about the story, right? When I grew up, until I was like 24, I think, I was hanging around with a group of people who, like, none of us really had an ambition for the future. And back then, YouTube wasn't really a big thing. You couldn't really find inspiration on YouTube as you can today, right? Back then, I was just growing up in this small little village or town in Sweden. All of my group of friends, we were just existing. We were just like having fun, working jobs, seeing each other after the work, doing some partying and watching movies. And we had no thoughts about the future at all. And then basically what happened, to cut a long story short, was that I started to get inspired by an entrepreneur. Basically, my ex-girlfriend's dad, he challenged me. He told me, like, Max, basically, what are you doing with your life? You're working at a warehouse. Like, if you're gonna date my daughter, you will have to like pick yourself up a bit. He didn't say that verbatim, but that was kind of what he told me, and I got pretty pissed by that. And so I started to look up, like, what even is an entrepreneur? I didn't really know, and then I started to implement things that I learned. I started to buy a course and learn stuff about entrepreneurship and how to make money online. And when I started to do this, I started to change, right? And my friends back then, the group of people that I had hanged around with, they didn't really like that. And I get them, because I stopped showing up to the things that we were doing before. Instead of showing up to parties that I now start to find like useless, like wasting my time, or hanging around and just like talking about useless stuff that I wasn't interested in. I was interested in this, like, actually changing my life and starting to build a business and starting to make money. And none of my previous friends back then didn't even exist in their world, right? So I started to kind of separate myself from them, and they didn't like that. And eventually, we just ended up splitting. And most of these people that were my best friends back then, I haven't spoken to them in like years, like for a very long time. And I even think quite a lot of these people don't like me. And I honestly think that they don't like me because the way we split it maybe wasn't the best, or they thought I was weird by just going into this other thing, or they might even thought that I was selfish because I didn't hang out with the group anymore. I was just going and just doing my own thing. And I started to find new friends or people that I started to talk to on the internet, etc. So I kind of separated myself from them, and I lost those friends in a way, right? But I'm not saying this is how it has to be, but it's how it happened for me. And I've heard this story over and over and over again as well, that you're attached to a group of people and that old way of living. And when you start to put yourself first, which is like my first advice, if you want to like get ahead of 99% of people out there, you have to like identify what you want to do and put yourself first. Because what most people do is that they're trying to fit in, right? Like, we're having a group of people and we're trying to fit in that group, right? It's kind of in us. And when you do that, you sacrifice yourself and your own ambition and your own goals to just be accepted and fit in. And whenever you stop doing that and putting yourself first, you're an outlier. So, and you face rejection, essentially. And that's what most of us are very afraid of. And I hated that. Like, when I grew up, when I was a small kid, I grew up on a street where we were a bunch of kids, and all of us were like super tight. And like, we were going to the same school, I was growing up in a kind of small place. So, like, there were no like bad vibes. All of us were like popular, if you want to call that. We had a great time. So I was used to like not having rejection. The opposite. I was used to having people come to me when I want to spend time with me. So when I was like 24 and I started to like face rejection, that was hard. Like that was tough. But that also hardened me, right? Because now I don't really care, right? I don't care what, like, it's not correct to say that I don't care what people think of me. Like, if somebody says something to me that is mean, I am going to care. I'm gonna like, why do you think that of me? Like, I will care. I think everybody cares when somebody tells you something. Like, we all have emotions, but I'm not letting that affect my behavior. I'm not like submitting to it and then just stand in line and then kind of submit to their will just because they think something of me. Rather the opposite. If somebody thinks something of me, like, I'm never going, then it just gives me more reason to don't do what they do in a way, and gives me even more reason to just follow what I'm doing myself. So that's kind of my first advice if you want to get ahead of like 99% of people, is just to put yourself first. You have to do that. Nobody's going to bring your future for you. Nobody's going to create the future that you want for you. You will have to do that yourself. Like, your parents can't do it, your girlfriend or boyfriend can't do it, your sister or siblings cannot do it. Like, nobody can do it for you. You will have to do it yourself. So you have to put yourself first. The second thing I want to talk about, the second thing that you can do to get ahead of 99% of people, is to get super clear on your goal, right? So let me tell you about a story how that happened for me as well, and how that changed literally everything. Because when my girlfriend's dad, as I told you about, right, when he challenged me and basically told me like, "Hey, get your shit together if you're gonna date my daughter," I start to look around, right? And as I said, I got pissed first. I was like, "Who's this guy to judge me? Like, I can work at this warehouse if I want to. Like, who are you to like tell me what to do?" So I got pissed by it. But then also that kind of forced me to like look into what he was doing. Like, okay, you're an entrepreneur, so why do you think you're such a big shot and know so much? And then I was like, oh, maybe this entrepreneurial thing is actually interesting. And then I started to get very interested. And then I bought that first course. And eventually I bought this book that a lot of entrepreneurs have bought and read, which is called Think and Grow Rich. And if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend that you do. It completely changed my life, because a big chapter in that book is called Desire. And what basically Napoleon Hill, who wrote that book, he interviewed some of the most successful people back in the 1900s, 1920s, and or before that actually, he interviewed the most successful people. Andrew Carnegie, who was starting the steel industry, or American Steel, I think it was, right? Don't hold me accountable to that. But he became the most wealthy man in the world back then. And he interviewed all of these people, presidents, etc. And he created this formula for success. And one of the biggest things when it comes to success, according to Napoleon Hill, and also according to Henry Ford, that he interviewed as well, was that you need to get crystal clear on your goal, you need to write down your goal, and you need to read it twice daily. So the way he outlines it in the book is that you write down exactly what you want, when you want it, what you will give back once you've achieved it, and what your plan is to achieve that thing, right? So for example, when I started out, I had a goal of like $30,000 per month. That was huge. I was like, that's not even possible. That's crazy. $30,000 per month, it's like insane. So I told him, okay, I want $30,000 per month in, I don't know, I said maybe 1 or 2 years. And what I will give back when I get there is that I will teach other people to do how I did it. And my plan to get there is that I will buy this course, I will go through the course and implementing, and I will read this daily goal every single day and constantly like learn new stuff to get me closer and closer to that. And back then I was learning about like SEO and affiliate marketing, so I had that in kind of my goal, right? But the goal is always evolving. But what happened was that I read that goal every single morning, and I wrote it down by hand, and then I read it in the morning, and I memorized the entire text because it was a pretty lengthy text. And then in the morning, I stared myself in the mirror and I started to like read this thing out loud to myself multiple times in the morning. I just kind of like engraved it in my head. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was just doing that. And then when I was out walking, I could like just repeat it as a mantra in my head, my entire kind of goal, or my definite chief aim, as to call it in the book, or my desire. And then I did the same thing at the evening. In the beginning, I was like, what am I doing? This is just stupid. Like, yeah, I don't know. But then over time, what happened was that I started to like start to see opportunities, and weird things started to happen. Like, I taught about certain thing, and then the next day that kind of showed up, and I was like, or somebody mentioned something to me, or I've been trying to solve a specific problem, and then I get served an ad or a video, or like somebody who I've never talked with in a long time start to like tell me about stuff. So I'm like, this is interesting. And from that point, after I read that book and started to repeat my goal every single day, everything just evolved. That's when I found my first mentor. That's when I got my first job and started to get paid online. Everything happened after that. And so, yeah, that's basically step number 2 on this list. That first of all, again, is that you put yourself first, right? Put yourself first, create a goal, then read that goal every single day and start to work on your mindset, because mindset is literally everything. I don't care what everybody says, or if you have somebody say, yeah, that's just woo stuff. If you just do the work, you will get to where you want to get to. And I agree. Work and input is super important, but there is something with the mindset. There's something with this reality that we're living in that just bends to the mind. It's weird. But if you set your mind to something, it happens. And another weird story here that I can make quick was that back in October of 2023, basically last year, I have a picture actually of me and my dad shaking hands, because I was explaining to my dad what I was doing with school, and I was starting this business, and I shook hands with him, and I told him that let's travel to Vegas and meet Hormozy and get him to invest in my business. And this was way before Hormozy announced any partnership with school or anything of that. That's basically, we shook hands on that. And I thought, okay, this might take 1 to 2 years or whatever, and I'm going to build my business to generate this amount of income, and then maybe Alex can invest and help me grow even more, etc., etc. It took me from then, like October, November, December, January, February. It took me 4 months. Then I was in the same room with Alex Hormozy. And when we shook hands on this, nothing, I didn't even know that Alex was associated with school. I had no idea that I was going to start a paid community. I had no idea about all of these things. But I took a decision, and I didn't really put it as a goal that were repeated. I just shook hands with my dad, and then that happened in 4 months, which is insane when you look back on it. It's crazy, right? So that's that. First thing, put yourself first. The second thing is to get a clear goal, or get clear on your goal, and then repeat it every single day. The third thing I want to talk about is a concept or a principle that I learned from Sam Ovens. And I've heard Sam Ovens talk about this way back, but when I was in Vegas at that event, when I met Hormozy and Sam Ovens was also there, we basically at the end of the day, we were going to go for dinner, right? So we were standing outside, and it started to rain a bit, and we had to go to this hotel for a dinner. And people were ordering Ubers to get to this hotel, and I ended up in the same car as Sam. So we jumped into the Uber, and we started to talk about school, etc. And then I asked him about this principle that I had seen him talk about in a video before, and it's called get in the pool. And the concept goes like this. There's this Olympic swimmer, right? Michael Phelps, who I don't know how many Olympic medals he won, but he won a lot. And his core principle every single day when he was about to do the work, to swim essentially, right? His main principle was that just every single morning when he woke up, it was just like, get in the pool. He didn't care about anything else. Like, just get in the pool. Because he knew that if Michael Phelps, just got into the pool every single day, then it was like, okay, I'm in the pool now, so I might as well just start the workout, right? I might as well swim because I'm in the pool now. So, okay, I just get started. And then, he had a great workout most of the time. So that was his goal. His goal was not, I'm going to get in the pool or like swim X amount of lengths, or I'm going to do this big goals. And then some days I'm like, I can't be arsed to like do this today. It feels like too much. His only goal every single day was just get in the pool. So what Sam did, or what Sam is currently doing as well, is that every single day, his thing is just to get in the office, right? And he told us about this on the event as well, that every single morning he's in the office at 6 a.m. and then he's in the office from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., so 12 hours. And then he gets home and spends time with his family. So that is something that I've started to apply as well, is that every single day, like, I don't care if I like feel like it or if I don't feel like it. I know that if I just get myself into this chair in this office and I open up my computer, I'm in the pool, right? I'm in my workspace. So I might as well, if I sit here with my computer open, I'm just going to start to work. And if I start to write down a to-do list or like a list of what I need to get done today, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do that. And if I even then like plan tomorrow today, so if I plan out what I'm going to do today, if I did that yesterday, and if I get in the pool or get into my office, I will most likely just get it done, right? So that is the thing that has helped me tremendously. And that's a principle that I learned from Sam as well. And yeah, that's what we talked about in that ride as well. We just reiterated that, yeah, it's just like, get in the office every single day. Just get in there, complete your list, and just do that, right? So that's the third thing, get in the pool. The fourth thing is to create systems around certain things, right? Because I'm one of these individuals who love to plan and to like create solutions for things, right? Like create how should I put it simply? I like to figure things out, but I'm not the best operator. So I'm like a visionary or a creator. If you take different personality tests, they call it a creator, or kind of how different people fit into the workplace, right? We have people who love to like think and imagine and create plans, and then we have other people, I think those are the creators, I think they call it. And then that normally goes to a more like analytical person who can then kind of refine that. And so it like the goals go from the goal to somebody who refines the goal to somebody who is then creating a plan for complete that goal, right? And then it goes to a person who's like executing it, right? So the visionary creates the big crazy plan, somebody who refines the plan, make it like tangible and better, then somebody who creates a plan to actually achieve it, like step-by-step instruction on how to increase or like how to reach this thing. And then finally there's somebody who is like an action taker who just he or she doesn't like to like think, they just like to get a list and just execute it. I'm very much one of those people who just like to like think and just create systems on like plan, like this is what we're going to do, and I can be all over the place, but I love that. And then I'm pretty good refiner to kind of refine that goal as well, but I'm not the best like implementer. I can do something for a while, but then I very easily fall off because I find it useless to just do those, not useless, but I find it boring, I should say, to do those repetitive tasks all over the place. So one thing that I can highly recommend that's helped me tremendously is to, whenever I identify something that works, for example, on my Instagram, I found that creating reels daily, like daily reels using a tool called ManyChat, where I basically create a very specific type of reel with a long caption, I give value, and then I have a call to action at the end of the reel. And then I use this tool called ManyChat to basically, if people request more information, I can give them like access to my free course, etc. And it worked like a charm. Like the 7th reel that I did, just following that, the 7th one. So basically after a week, I got a reel who generated over 500,000 views, and it's still generating views and thousands of leads, and probably generated a lot of sales as well. And so I found that proof of concept, but then I like, even though I know that it's working, it kind of falls off because I'm not the best executioner. I just like to think and create new plans, and then that can kind of fall by the wayside. So creating systems around things and delegating it and giving it to somebody else who actually love to do that stuff is huge. And that's also a way that you can get ahead of 99% of people, by just finding things that are working, right? And then if you hate doing it, then find somebody who loves doing stuff over and over and over again, right? So delegating and creating systems is absolutely massive. Then we have the final thing, right? So far we've talked about like put yourself first, right? The story of my friends and how can I basically detached myself from them to pursue my own goals. Then number 2 was to get clear on your goal, right? And I told you about my story of how I basically read this book and I started to write down my goals, and I started to read it every single day. And when I did that, things started happening and things started to come to me. And I told about the story of Hormozy and how that can happen in just 4 months by just sitting and shaking hands with my dad. And then I was in Vegas, which is surreal. I also told you about the concept that Sam Ovens taught me in the taxi ride in the car towards the dinner, to just get in the pool by Michael Phelps, right? It's just every single day, just get in the office, put yourself in a chair, and have a list, a to-do list that you prepared the night before, and then just do it, essentially, right? And then the fourth thing that we talked about was then just creating systems and then delegating it or outsourcing it to people. If you hate doing something, just like, but it's working, right? It's powerful, but you don't want to do it, then continue to do it, but you don't have to do it yourself. So these are the first four things. The fifth and final thing that I want to talk about is also, I guess this is more sort of like a principle or like a North Star that I look at and that I think of all the time. And I talk about this all the time as well. And it's this concept or principle that the one who provides the most value wins, right? Especially in business. The one who provides the most value will win, right? So think of it like this. Let's say these are two different people who sell two different things, right? This person sells, headphones, let's say. And let's say this is also a pair of headphones. But you think that Apple is better than this thing, whatever this is, right? It doesn't even look like a pair of headphones, but you get the deal, right? You will most likely buy this one because it provides most value to you. Like it fits, it syncs perfectly with your iPhone. It syncs perfectly with your MacBook if you have that. And all of your other, like your Apple Watch as well. You like the design. It's trendy, so it gives you some social status also. The audio is great. The noise canceling is great. It's just more value. Yeah, it might be a little bit more expensive, but it's a heck of a lot of more value, right? And then you have these pair of headphones. Let's just, pretend that this is a pair of headphones. They're ugly. The sound is bad. They have a wire. And they are ugly, and nobody wants them. And it doesn't give you any social status, right? So in this case, the one pair of headphones who provides the most value, which is the AirPods, will win, right? And that's the equation that you use in your head every single time when you try to buy something or when you're about to buy something online. You try to find the best thing for the best price that fits your wallet, obviously, but that's very, very powerful. So if you in business just focus on, if I can just give more value than everybody else, I will win. If I do a YouTube video and I provide more value than other people do in my YouTube videos, then I will win, because then people will find my videos very valuable. They will want to come back because they learned a bunch of stuff. They will continue to watch my videos. And then they will maybe join my free lead magnets and maybe buy my paid stuff as well. And if my paid stuff is really good, they will also recommend it to their friends, right? So if you just focus on providing more value than everybody else, doesn't matter if you sell products or like physical products or digital products, or if you're selling software, or if you're selling services, or whatever it is that you're selling. If you just provide more value than everybody else, then you will win. And that's how you will get ahead of 99% of people as well. So, that's it for this video. If you want to learn how to basically start a business for free, if you enjoy the value in this one, then I have a free course, right? Because I try to give as much value as I can for free. And I put that free value in my free course. And if you want to join that free course, you can just check it out. And you will find a link somewhere here on my page.